Copper plate engraving is an old process, certainly going back to at least the 1400s. It was popular south of the Alps, probably because it derives from the Italian goldsmithing tradition. By 1600, it had pretty much replaced woodblock printing for old maps. And the reason probably is that it was easier to change a metal plate. All you have to do is tap out from behind the area of the plate that you want to correct, burnish it down, and then cut a new design into it. The designs were made by cutting into them with a pointed tool called a graver. Then the next step, of course, was the printing process. That was a little more complicated than with woodblock. What you had to do first was heat the metal plate so much so that ink would flow into the grooves. Then it would be inked. Then the excess ink was removed. It would be wiped clean, leaving only ink in the grooves. Then a piece of paper was placed on the plate. It had to be dampened slightly so it would be flexible and go down into the grooves. Then the plate and the paper together were run through an engraving press, which consisted of two rollers close together, so the paper was under high pressure. The press looked like the old ringer on washing machines. When it came out, all you had to do then was remove the paper and hang it up so the ink could dry. The process itself, because it was done under pressure, left some characteristic marks on the paper. The lettering and the ink, all the lines on it were raised somewhat. And this is where the notion of raised lettering came from. Also, around the outside of the map, you'll usually see a raised ridge called a plate mark. It's typically pretty close to the edge of the printed surface of the map, within 1/8 of an inch or so, at least with the older maps. The reason for this is that copper was expensive. If you had a plate that was too big for the map, the edges would be trimmed off and saved. Then the excess copper could be taken back to the foundry for a credit against buying a new plate. That's also why old copper plates don't survive very much. Once their useful life had ended, they were often melted down.